a merchant went in search of a fine pearl. And when he found it, he went and sold everything he had to purchase it. Those two sentences from today's gospel are an autobiography of the life of Jesus. As most of you know, I just had a few days of vacation and a few days of retreat. And I went into the silence of those 4 days, wanting above all to be available to the love that I talk about here Sunday after Sunday. I wanted really just to be there to meet God as God is. And though I don't do it perfectly, I wanted to pray, to be with God. And what I've realized, the more and more I study the scriptures, especially the Gospels, I see that I was doing exactly what Jesus did with his life. He was a seeker. He was a man of prayer. And it becomes clear to me that at some point, Jesus had this overwhelming encounter with all love. Jesus met the one who is all goodness, compassion, forgiveness. He met unconditional love, and he would be changed forever by that. Jesus found the pearl of great price. And suddenly, that's all that really mattered to him. It was as if he would sell everything to purchase that pearl, huh? That was all that really mattered. He would remain unmarried in part so that he could help others have what they needed to go meet this love as well. To be loved by God and to love like that God was what would direct every decision in his life. A merchant went out in search of a fine pearl, Jesus said, as he looked around at the crowds gathered. And when he found it, he sold everything to buy it. Jesus was telling them about himself. And the word that Jesus would use to call out to that love is the word Abba. We've translated that Father. It was actually a very intimate, tender, dear word, perhaps more accurately translated, Daddy. Jesus taught us to pray like that. The first two words of the Lord's Prayer, the more accurate translation could perhaps be Daddy, huh? You see, Jesus wanted us to invite us into that experience, even into that relationship that he knew. Now, I've heard that word Abba many times, but my experience of the word has changed now. On our travels before retreat started, Father Gary Brown, one of my priest buddies with whom I was traveling, told us about an experience he had recently had. He was taking a walk with a rabbi who was pushing his son, 2-year-old son, in a stroller. And he said when the little boy wanted his father's attention, he would look up and say, Abba. When he was thirsty, he held up his sippy cup and said, Abba, water. And he said, hearing that little boy address his dad, Abba, changed forever how he would hear that word and how he imagined Jesus saying that word when he called out to love. It changed my hearing of that as well. And at Gary's encouragement, I went out into the night sky and I cried out, Abba, to my God. You see, what Jesus found is available for us to find as well. Maybe for some, the first thing we got to do is just even envision that there could be such love, that there could be such self-emptying, other-centered goodness. And maybe as we let ourselves envision that, maybe we can believe it to be true or trust it to be true. And I pray that we will then actually meet that one who is all love. Because here's what I wanted to say to you. That pearl is real. It was real to Jesus. It was the most real thing to Jesus. It was the thing for which he would give his life. It is real. There is a pearl of great price that is worth us selling everything else to purchase, to be loved by God, and then to love like that. And I tell you, once you've found that pearl, nothing else really matters all that much. I hope you've found that pearl of great price. And if so, you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, I hope you keep searching. And when you find it, I hope that you're wise enough to sell everything to purchase it, because really nothing else matters that much. I hope you found it. But I'll tell you, I have found that pearl of great price. And really, nothing else matters all that much to me. The more I root myself in that love and in that way of loving. Now, don't think that I don't get distracted or get sidetracked or get caught up in worrying about some things that don't matter so much. But you know, in the end, the more I root myself in that love, the more I don't need to run around seeking anything else, because I have found what is worth my life. I found it. I found it. And I hope you can too. And what happens when we let ourselves meet this love so overwhelming that we can only call it God is that we are ourselves changed, And somehow we want to love like we've been loved. And if we do, maybe someday somebody will write this about your life or about my life. They would say, a merchant went in search of a fine pearl. On finding it, that merchant went and sold everything he had to buy it. Hello, buddy. How are you? Thirsty. You're thirsty? Well, then you know what? I've got something for you to drink. Not sippy cup. No, not a sippy cup. No. I think it'd be okay if you had a big person's cup. What do you think, Big Al? Not enough. Show you. Show me. Better. That would be better. You tend to think that more is better, don't you, Big Al? Well, why don't you set that down for a second, because here's my theory, Big Al. I believe that you could drink that whole cup filled 5 times and still be thirsty. No. Well, Big Al, I don't mean that your body would be thirsty, but there's an empty part inside of every person. What? There's an empty place in everybody that will only be filled by God. Big Al. And sometimes we worry about so much stuff. But the more we meet God and know God's love and try to love like God, the more we will be truly happy. Oh, we still eat and drink and work and go to school and do those things. But we remember the most important thing of all is the love of God. Cool. Bye. And boys and girls, of course we eat and drink, but there will always be an empty place in us that no food can fill, no drink can fill, no stuff can fill, and is only filled by God. And the more we love God, and the more we love like God, then we're filled no matter what goes on around us.